Thank you, Sam. We are working lap number 2 here of the SNB Cup Series. Christian Peterson Photography 200. We had some technical issues here with the broadcast. We were just short of missing the start of the race. Braxton Deweese got the lead on the breakaway, but coming off of turn number 4 to complete the first lap, broke loose. That's why Joshua Altus is able to get out front in the number 94. Season 1 Homestead winner Spencer Hardison rides in second. Ross Tatum running in third, and then you find Keenan Massey in the number 4 with Deweese, the pole sitter, in 5th. Joining me in the booth tonight as Hardison makes a run into the lead going into turn number 3. He dominated this race in season 1 in 2020. Joining me in the booth is Tom Bourne. And Tom, 19 drivers taking the green flag here for this race as we begin lap number 4. What are your thoughts and expectations for this race?
I expect it to be a very fast, very intense race coming down, as you could already see in the first 4 or 5 laps. A guy I'm watching right now, I know Spencer was the defending winner here and everything, but Keenan Massey, he's one of the guys that needs a good finish and a good run to run up front, get that solid finish. He's 26 points back of that cutoff line of Evan Coleman, who's sitting in the 10th position right now, and he's doing everything he can right now, but it's definitely going to be a hard time passing those top 3 guys. And even now that Braxton's back in 7th, he's going to have to figure out something to get around him.
There's 2 spots remaining in the playoffs, and they are up for grabs here in this race and next week's race at Indianapolis to determine the final 2 drivers in the playoffs. Only 2 drivers have won multiple races this season. They are your current race leader, Spencer Hardison, and Braxton Deweese, the pole sitter today, who fell back to 7th. He broke loose in the early stages of this one, coming off of turn number 4 on lap number 1. Like you mentioned there, Evan Coleman in number 51 sits in 10th, and he needs to hope that there are no more new winners unless it's a car number 51, because in that 10th position, he is in probably the most uncomfortable spot of anyone in this race right now, as we continue to click laps away, coming to complete lap number 6, begin lap number 7. Altus led the first 3 laps. Hardison took over on lap 4 and has led since.
Yeah, and I've been in the position Evan's been in before. I know he is not comfortable running in that bubble spot, and he's running back in 18th right now. Didn't have the qualifying effort he wanted to. Started 15th, and he is behind a gaggle of cars right now. Guys like Caleb Smith, Zach Peterson, Brockton Packard, all of those guys trying to have solid runs, and they're almost about to take it 3 wide for 15th. Evan can't afford to get in a wreck. We have 1 fast repair, but if you use it on lap 10 and you get another one later in the race, it's your SOL.
Fast repair available and 5 sets of tires on pit road, plus before you start with the race. So 6 sets of Goodyear tires available to these drivers here today, as Coleman battling it out with Cody Fournette, Brockton Packard in front of him. And Packard's another one of those guys, Tom, that a win today or next week in Indianapolis, he could get himself into the mix of the playoffs as well. A lot of storylines here in this race to follow, including one that we haven't even mentioned yet, the battle for the regular season championship. And that looks like it's going to come down to the 94 of Altus and the 15 of Deweese, 2 of the strongest cars all year long.
Yeah, I mean, those guys have been strong all season long, but a guy that I have kind of kept my eye on this race, and I'm going to keep my eye on, is Caleb Smith. He's only 4 points back of that regular season championship, so he might be able to sneak one out if Braxton or Josh end up having a bad run either this week or next week.
Smith, remember, the winner at Dover, so he does have a victory this season, is in the playoffs, and he can very well strike for that regular season championship. He's on the inside of Deweese right now in turn number 3. They're both trying to get to the inside of Tucker Wingo. We might go 3 wide here. This is going on for 8th position right now as Deweese and Smith battle it out. And I'm wondering if something may have happened on the start to Deweese, perhaps coming off of turn number 4, because he broke out, got the lead early. And I'm looking at the car. He does have a little bit of a flare-up on the right front, so I'm wondering if Deweese may have caught the wall. And with how aero-sensitive these Cup cars are on these mile-and-a-half tracks, seems to really be affecting the drive of the 15, and he will no doubt be hoping that they can get to pit road sooner or later so he can at least address it. Hopefully, it's small enough that he can use the manual repair and not have to save the fast repair.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't want to use that fast repair early in the run. I mean, as he's falling back now he just got passed for 11th place. I mean, when I saw the car break loose off 4 on the first lap, I thought he just heated up the right rear, and if you do that, it's gonna hinder your run a little bit. But pit stops, we're running a 50% fuel level and everything as the 99's in the wall. Wow, all right. Caleb Smith just missed that. Like I was saying, the fuel window is about 25 to 30 laps. So if Braxton can hang on for 15 more laps, even 10 in short pit, he should be able to get it repaired. Now, he won't. You don't want to do it under green, but if you have to, you have to.
That's definitely something that the 15 crew is going to be talking about already, trying to figure out whether or not they want to take the fast repair. A couple of drivers have had issues with hitting the wall here in the early stages, and it all happened so far off of turn number 4. We saw Deweese do it on lap number 1. Just saw Tucker Wingo do it there a couple of laps ago. A lot of drivers doing it in practice. What is it about turn number 4 exit that really can trick these drivers and cause them to catch the wall early if they're not careful?
So it's kind of like a Iowa feeling where the corner is so weirdly shaped that you'll think that, okay, I have plenty of room to get off the corner, and then all of a sudden that wall just comes out at you like it wasn't there. I've seen a lot of drivers overdrive that corner where a lot of people will cut to the bottom and then drift all the way up, but when they change it up to run that middle line, they don't realize that you're not going to be able to let that car slide up as much. And that's where a lot of people get the wall off 4, or even just get loose off 4.
That happened to another driver a lap ago. It was Cody Terry in the 22. He has since fallen back to the tail end of the field in the battle with Cody Fournette right now. He caught the wall off of turn number 4 as well. Things have settled down here so far after a kind of aggressive start to the race. It's settled down. It's Hardison, Altus, Tatum, Massey, Matt Dyer in the top 5 right now. And Dyer's another one of those drivers, Tom, that's below the playoff cutoff line. He needs to get a victory in these next 2 races to get it done. And the fact that he struggled at Michigan last week, he will no doubt be looking for a bounce back. We've seen him have some great runs here this season at number 88. What does he need to do to get himself in victory lane tonight or next week in Indianapolis for the regular season finale?
Considering it's a fixed setup, there's not much you can do. I've seen Matt race multiple times. I've raced with him multiple times. He's definitely got speed. I know he has a lot of speed at Indy, and that he's probably one of the guys to watch out for next week. But for this race, maybe get off strategy a little bit. That extra lap or 2 on newer tires, or even before you get, you'd short pit an extra lap or 2. That could mean something in the run. I know as the tires wear and everything, right now they're about 2 seconds off. So if Matt can, short pit maybe 2 laps prior, that's a good 4 seconds gain at least. Same thing with the pitting after them by a lap or 2. He's gonna have fresher tires for the remainder of the run. So my best bet for him is to get off strategy as soon as possible.
So with this long green flag run to start the race off, working lap number 19, you mentioned fuel was sitting somewhere in the 25 to 30 lap bracket before you have to start thinking about it. And with 2 seconds of fall off already, like you mentioned, and that's exactly what it is right now for Hardison. Exactly 2 seconds, qualified at a 30.928 for third quick. His last lap was a 32.909, and a little bit quicker there, 32.887 for Hardison, who's led the most laps here thus far, looking for his 3rd win of the season. But when you're in these drivers and you're in the position like a Dyer or a Jack Ely or an Evan Coleman who's charging through the field and is up to 12th already, or Braxton Deweese who had that problem hitting the wall off of turn number 4 on the opening lap, what point would you consider it a short pit that the window opens? When do you think the window opens for the short pit?
Well, considering, like we spoke about, it's like 25 to 30 laps, I would pit because a lot of people are going to try and run this dry. They're going to try and cut out as many pit stops as possible. So, I mean, if it's a 25 to 30 lap run, no matter what, you're going to have to pit one more time after this initial pit stop. It's an 80 lap race. So, correction, it's not an 80 lap race. I don't know what I'm getting at. It's a 134 lap race. I'm thinking of next week. So you're gonna have to pit a couple more times. Personally, right when that pit window opens, I would try and get off sequence because then it pulls everyone down. So it kind of forces their hand, and that's what you want to do. And you will, you might get that 1 lap extra tires or 2. You never know.
Again, the reason that they are talking about 25 to 30 lap fuel runs on a 1.5-mile track, they're capped out at only being able to use 50% fuel capacity here today. So they can only get half the fuel that you would normally expect to see in these cup cars. So that's why the short fuel runs. And with that combined with the limited tire sets, that throws a bit of strategy into the game as well. The drivers, of course, will be banking on it going a couple of cautions, but here we are 23 laps in. It's been clean and green thus far, only a couple of scuffs with the wall. What all have you seen so far as the racing goes, as we see Deweese try to go after Jack Ely now for the 8th spot? Deweese starting to climb back up as he got around his teammate Tyler Stutesbury, but Evan Coleman closing as well. What have you seen so far with the way this race has gone? Are you seeing drivers play the conservative game on this first run? Are you seeing guys go for it all out? What are you seeing so far?
Honestly, it's with a track like this, it's all about tire management. Anything with the cup cars and everything is all about tire management. Now, you got some guys like Spencer Hardison. He might be on cruise control right now, but at the beginning of that run, he was flat foot trying to get that lead and pull away as much as possible. Now you got other guys like Evan Coleman, who was back in 18th at the beginning of this run, probably saving his tires, and now you can see he's all the way up to 11th right now. So it kind of varies on what you kind of want to do. Like, do you want to run all out on the first run just to see how it feels? Do you want to save tires and see how fast you can actually work your way through? Ultimately, it comes to personal preference.
As we work lap number 25, we're closing in on that fuel window, so we can expect to see drivers coming on the pit road here in the next couple laps. I believe we're going to see the teammates Josh Altus and Rob Sherwood begin that thing right now, as here they come. So right there on lap 25, we see the teammates come in. Altus and Sherwood, each with a win this season. Sherwood the win last week at Michigan. They're going to lead them down pit road. That leaves Tatum, Massey, Dyer, and now Grant your top 5 as the teammates come down.
Yeah, you see, and that's after those 2 cars pit, especially because they were running up front, you're going to see a lot of guys start shuffling down. And that's what I was talking about earlier, about forcing the hand of other drivers. That the 1 to 2 lap extra tires advantage could play dividends.
Other drivers on pit road include Christian Gardner and Cody Terry. Gardner, of course, the title sponsor of tonight's race. Christian Gardner Photography, he was running mid-pack. Cody Terry was one of those guys we saw get the walls. The first batch of pit stops complete. Still waiting to see who else makes the left-hander onto pit road here as Hardison continues to lead. He's up now 5 seconds over Keenan Massey after the pit stops. Deweese back into the top 5. So when do you expect to see the race leaders come down? Now that we know that we've had some pit stops so far, what are you expecting to see from the rest of the group?
Honestly, Hardison had such a big lead, and he still does. I feel like he's going to run as long as he can. Try and cut off as many laps as possible each fuel run, because he's got the fastest car right now. He knows he has the fastest car. So, honestly, I think he's trying to just extend it. As I say that, he's coming onto pit road, so I'm just going to stop talking regarding that. But the big thing about these green flag pit stops for guys that have to make it on are trying to make it in on points and everything, you can't have a mistake. You can't have a speeding penalty or anything.
Other drivers on pit road include the BAPS Racing Enterprises drivers, Tucker Wingo, Cody Fournette, and Jack Ely all on pit road as Hardison pits from the lead. That gives Massey the lead. Jacob Grant now in second in the 52, but as they roll down the backstretch, you can see right there the difference in tires as Joshua Altus able to get around Keenan Massey already, and it looks like Massey's had enough of that. He got his lap led, and it sounds like he's going to be coming down pit road
Ooh,
this
almost
time as well.
contact between the 52 and the 4, and the 4 almost lost it on the pit road. Not sure if he got a speeding penalty there. Had to lock up those tires. But like I was saying, you look at Altus, and he just ran a 31.5. You look at Grant, who's the race leader right now. He ran a 33.6. So right there's 2 seconds. And that could be big for guys that, ended up short pitting that were like 2 seconds behind the leader. You could end up 2 seconds in front of the leader after this.
Here comes the rest of the field. 8 cars have yet to come down pit road. 5 of them on pit road now. It's the top 5. Grant, Deweese, Dyer, Coleman, and Stooksbury. That I believe will leave just Caleb Smith and Robbie Helms as the only drivers who have yet to pit. Need confirmation on the 12 and the 18.
The 12, the 12 is coming off pit road now, and so is the 18. So I believe that is everyone.
So that'll be it, and we'll see now how it all shakes down. With the different strategies now, they're all going to be spread out a lot more. Grant still being scored as the leader, but it should switch over to Joshua Altus, not this time, but next time, as Grant was able to get out in front. But Grant led the group down pit road. He is the last car to get going here on pit road, maybe staying on an additional couple of seconds to get some damage repaired.
Yeah, it could have been, or, he might have slid through his box a little bit. These tires are heated up now. You're going to slide a little bit on pit road, especially with the concrete pit boxes. But, you look at it right there. The 94 car was, a couple seconds behind Spencer before pit stops. He's now 1.5 seconds ahead of him.
Altus in front of Hardison. That's the difference the 1 lap on the tires makes. But remember, the flip side of that coin is once Hardison does come in, he now has the 1 set fresher tires. And we talk about, not just with this series, but a lot of times with Cup Series races where tire management comes into play, we talk about how long that freshness of the tires lasts before it gets to a point that the lap differential doesn't really make any difference. But with the drivers only able to make short runs, 25 to 30 laps, is that something that could come into play tonight with these long green flag runs, or are these pit stop cycles so short that might not be a problem tonight?
It definitely can, because, anything after 15 to 20 laps, that's where it's going to start to even out a little bit. And you could see those 2 lap fresher tires that Spencer has right now, because he pit 2 laps after Josh. He's already cut it down to 9/10 of a second. He's running about 3 to 4 tenths faster than him right now.
It was 1.2 seconds last time by, 9/10 of a second last time by, and even more shaved off here for this one this time by. We'll see what it is. By the way, next up is Ross Tatum, who's all by himself, 3 seconds back of this, as Hardison able to shave another 3/10 of a second off. He's in the 31.6 bracket, while Altus 31.9 bracket. Ross Tatum still staying even right now with Altus, so same lap time for the 94 and the 1. Tatum the winner at Martinsville, and he won that race on a gutsy pit call and made it work with using the green-white checkers to his advantage. So watch for Tatum as well to be up here at the end if he gets a chance to go off sequence.
Yeah, I don't see like a gutsy pit call being called this race. I've raced here multiple times. 2 tires does not work here. Now, if you need to pit with 5 to go and everybody needs to pit with 5 to go, I'd roll the dice, honestly, and take no tires. But definitely 2 tires here with the tire wear that it has, I wouldn't even touch it.
So all these different things for drivers to think about. It's a very cool track temperature right now, Tom. Very cool. 70-ish degrees right now. At the drop of the green flag, it was 76 degrees. So with that being one of the colder track temperatures of the year, that's keeping more grip in the tires here as opposed to when it's over 100 degrees out and it's eating the tires away. We're in the sunset right now, and the way this race is going, we're clicking them away. We're already less than 100 laps to go in this 134 lap race. If the sun goes down enough and we do are able to finish this race under the lights, do you think you'll see some different drivers that are kind of in the middle of the pack right now come to life, or do you think these guys are all prepared for that switch later in the race?
I definitely think everybody's prepared for it. As we got a battle for the lead right now between the 94 and the 9. But some drivers just don't like the transition point. I know I myself, I don't like the transition point when it goes from day to night. I personally run better at night. A lot of guys, some guys might run better at night, and you see guys like Evan Coleman, Matt Dyer, Caleb Smith, guys running 10th, 11th, and 12th. They might end up, you know, running better at night and everything, and they could be up front by the end of the race.
And we've seen a couple of instances of that this year with the race starting in the day and ending at night. It is a gaggle of cars going on here from about seventh on back, led by Tucker Wingo, who's in sixth. From sixth place, Tucker Wingo, all the way back to Jacob Grant in 13th. It's a gaggle of cars all battling it out for position. Only one car not on the lead lap right now. That is the 22 of Cody Terry. You remember we talked about catching the wall off of turn number 4 earlier. Rest of the field all on pit road, and half the field is right here in this giant gaggle. That's a battle right now. You got Wingo, Deweese, Coleman, Massey, Dyer, Smith, and Jacob Grant, the caboose right now, just kind of hanging back. And is Grant, or watching Jacob Grant right now in the 52, is he kind of just hanging back there on purpose, or is he trying to catch the draft to get himself up into this battle? It looks like he's beginning to reel in Smith a little bit.
Well, he did pit a couple laps after Josh and all them. So maybe he's just trying to save his tires a little bit. It's going to be a big thing throughout this race. But honestly, I think it's early in the race. I think he's just going to try and pick his battles, like pick them off one by one. But this is what you were saying earlier about the different strategies and really shuffling things up. You got guys that were up near the front, that started up front, like Braxton, like Keenan Massey. They're running back here mid-pack now because of different strategies.
That's just the thing, though, with this huge gaggle of cars, is maybe this is forcing them to go off strategy a little bit just to try to keep your track position, because you could plan it all out all you want, but when you have a battle with 8 cars going on that you're stuck right in the middle of, doesn't matter what your strategy was, then all of a sudden you got to either get up on the wheel to keep your track position or fall to the back, and then you run the risk of running out of time. As we've been clean and green thus far, 42 laps in the books already, as Hardison has gotten around Altus, and those 2 tires have really begun to heat up. Oh, problems. We may have some connection issues on Keenan Massey as he blinked out for the entire length of the front stretch. And if you're Matt Dyer, who's right behind them, Caleb Smith was trying to make the pass. What goes through your head as a driver? We've both experienced it, I'm sure, when the car in front of you starts having connection issues and you don't know when they're going to come back, where they're going to come back, and a follow-up on the where exactly on the racetrack they are.
Yeah, it's definitely a scary feeling when you're battling a car, whether it's side by side or you're right behind them. And, it's more scary at like short tracks or super speedways, but even speedways, it frightens the driver a little bit because, like you said, you don't know where they're going to come back or when they're going to come back. So it definitely throws a different wrench into things of how you're driving. Like, even if, you and the driver that blinked end up running the same line, you might have to change up your line next corner just to make sure when he comes back, you don't get into him.
The first race I ever won on iRacing as a driver, I was running in second on the white flag, and going into turn 3, 2 seconds back, the leader blinked out and I was able to get around him. So that can not only play a factor in the race, that can play a factor in who wins the race if the connection issues just start up at the wrong time. 3 races I've won because the guy in front of me started blinking out and I was able to get around him while he was having the connection issues. So it can happen. It's something that has happened quite a bit on iRacing. Fortunately, we haven't seen a whole lot of connection issues come into play here in the series, as now Wingo and Grant are trying to get around Christian Gardner, who was ahead of this battle. But Gardner, remember, was one of those first drivers on pit road as well. He pitted with Altus and Sherwood, so he's on a little bit older tires than these guys as well. He's trying to hold on. Remember, tonight's race is brought to you by Christian Gardner Photography. No doubt he wants to have a good run in his number 7 car on his night, but with these older tires right now, looks like he's going to have to try to think up a different strategy for that, as we are already within 5 laps now of the next batch of pit stops.
Yeah, and this is something that a lot of guys might want to, that have been battling in this pack. They want to see, because the more you battle, the more you're going to wear out your tires. And the more you wear out your tires, obviously, the slower you're going to go.
Closing in on another round of pit stops. I believe the plan is we are going to go through, show the cycle of pit stops, and then if we stay green throughout the cycle, we'll throw it to a quick commercial to thank some of our great partners here at the SNB Cup Series and on FRN, our new home temporarily tonight for the SNB Cup Series. Big thank you to the Flatout Racing Network for stepping up with a lot of issues going on here tonight. We were still fighting them as we went on the air. That's why we missed qualifying in the opening lap of practice, but we're getting set for the second round of pit stops, so we will have a quick opportunity after the pit stops to thank one of our great partners here at the SNB Cup Series. But Tom, we're about a lap away from that window opening once again. Altus and Sherwood were the first group down. Do you expect them to do the same thing, or do you think they're going to try to get a couple extra laps out with what they learned on the tire management here on this run?
Now that they definitely have the track position, same thing with the one of Ross Tatum. They have the track position now, and I see them trying to stay out as long as they can. Just so, because you see the difference in the times between Spencer and Josh, and Spencer's opening up to almost a 5-second lead. You know, that's going to, if he, if Josh pits any sooner than Spencer, honestly, Spencer's just going to drive away from him again.
So we'll see how it goes, and waiting to see, no one signifying yet that they're coming down pit road, as this would have been the lap that Altus and Sherwood came down the last time by. But yeah, Hardison has opened it up almost 5 seconds now, make it over 5 seconds, 5.1 seconds back of leader Hardison. And Hardison won this race last year, or last season I should say, in the SNB series, so no doubt very strong at the mile and a halves. All of his victories in the SNB series have come on mile and a halves, including his 2 this season at the kind of a twin sister tracks, Kansas and Chicago. Looking for another win at Homestead here tonight, as still no sign of anyone on pit road yet.
Looks like Gardner and Matt Dyer just pulling into the pits for themselves.
Gardner and Dyer on pit road for the first batch of pit stops. Gardner and Dyer, of course, 2 drivers needing a win to get themselves into the playoffs. Dyer pulling away, Gardner behind him. Robbie Helms has gone a lap down. I believe he has also come down pit road in the 18. As the laps continue to click away here, already 50 laps in. Amazing job that we've been able to stay green for this entire batch here thus far. As another car coming down pit road, I believe this is Cody Terry, who's a lap down in the number 22 after having that incident early in the race, catching the wall, and just has yet to recover. So wondering now if he's back on track with the rest of the cars as far as damage repair, as he had a long pit stop. I believe he got some damage repaired. Here's Altus and Sherwood getting set to come in this time.
Yeah, and going back to what you were saying, Matt Dyer might have seen the track position that Sherwood got from short pitting, and he might have been like, all right, you know what, I'm going to do it this run. Why not? And maybe he'll gain some time. I know he was battling in that gaggle of cars and everything. He might not want to be in that gaggle of cars anymore. So we'll see what happens.
And as a driver, if you're in that gaggle of cars and you see the opportunity to get out as it arises with an opportunity to short pit, do you think that can encourage you to not only get out of that gaggle, but to also change your strategy up and maybe run with that strategy for the rest of the race if that wasn't your intention? Or do you think Dyer's going to get himself back on his planned strategy on this run?
Honestly, I think Dyer's going to get back on his planned strategy. I don't like short pitting multiple times in a row, just because then, it adds that couple laps and everything. And even if you go to the end of, say Spencer goes to the end of his fuel window and Matt doesn't, he pits at the beginning of the fuel window, and he does it again, then he's pitting 10 laps prior to Spencer at the conclusion of that third run, and that is a big difference in tire management and just fuel in general to try and make it to the end.
And with both those drivers down in the CEM stable, do you think they might be working together with each other, planning this out, or are they kind of on their own strategy as far as that goes to see whichever one works out better?
Honestly, I think I think they're giving like little tips here and there, but honestly, I think it's just do what you got to do to win, and that's that. But I'll tell you right now, the 29 car of Rob Sherwood, he hit with maybe a lap or two after Matt Dyer, and Matt's right on his back bumper right now. So those tires did make a big difference, and Matt's going to be out of that pack that they were battling in. So it's definitely going to help him conserve tires longer in the run, and it'll get him the track position he needs.
5 cars left that have yet to pit as Ross Tatum came down pit road the time before. The only drivers left that have yet to pit are race leader Hardison, Coleman, Massey, Stooksbury, and Smith right now, trying to battle it out, go as long as they can. And Stooksbury had called that he was coming to pit road 3 laps prior, but we've yet to see the 19 car on. So wondering if Stooksbury may have decided, hey, we're going to throw an audible here, or if wondering if maybe he might have been playing some mind games with the rest of the field, make him think he's coming, but then stay out a couple extra laps.
Yeah, he's doing, some mind games, or he could have been, throwing an audible. Maybe when he wanted to pit, he was on the outside of a car and he couldn't. And that threw everything through the mix. As Spencer Hardison, he's on pit road right now, the race leader. Correction, no, he's not. I don't know why he must have just came off pit road.
Off pit road, yeah.
Yeah, because I saw him drop through the leaderboard, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I believe the 12 before are pitting this time. They just came over the radios and said that they are going to be coming in, as it looks like Caleb getting into pit road really hot, but gets in there safely.
This leaves only Evan Coleman and Tyler Stooksbury as the drivers left to go, and believe that Evan Coleman just called out that he's coming down pit road. 5 seconds up on Tyler Stooksbury as the rest of the field cycles through, and looks like not only did Hardison hold on to the lead or come down pit road a couple laps after Altus, I believe he was able to hang on and get the lead back. Here, he will be the net race leader as Coleman and Stooksbury do indeed come down. These are the final 2 cars to come down pit road. I believe this will hand the lead back over to Hardison in the 9, who's been far and away the strongest car here so far.
Yeah, he has definitely been the fastest car all night long. And that was just the reason he didn't lose much on the 94 is because of that huge lead he had in the first run. He had over 5 seconds when the 94 pit. And Spencer's like, all right, you know what? I'll pit 2 laps after you, just like how I did the last time. And he got to stay in front of him. And now, honestly, I see Spencer just pulling away even more.
Definitely going to anticipate seeing that as we close in on halfway. As pit stop cycle is complete, Spencer Hardison's going to inherit the lead back. Joshua Altus continues to play chase on the number 9, as we're going to take a moment to thank one of our great sponsors here at the SNB Cup Series. And we'll be right back with the second half of this race. You're watching the SNB Cup Series Christian Gardner Photography 200 here on Flatout Racing Network. Welcome back to FRN here for the SNB Cup Series. The Christian Gardner Photography 200. Spencer Hardison has led far and away the most laps here today, as he has been the strongest car here in Miami tonight. Zach Peterson had to repair some damage on the number 96. He's now 2 laps down in 19th position. Cody Terry, the only other driver not on the lead lap, as he had to repair damage on the first batch of pit stops, elected to save the fast repair for later. But the way this race has gone might put him in a difficult position if this thing stays green for much longer, as the field is really well spread out now. Hardison beginning to close in on Brockton Packard, and for the first time tonight, Tom, we're going to see lap traffic begin to play a role in this race.
Yeah, Brockton is about, I want to say, probably a quarter of a straightaway ahead of Spencer right now. But this is such a wide track. It kind of turns into like, all right, I'll go here, you go there. And yeah, he's trying to stay on the lead lap and everything, but at the same time, even if he wanted to try and block Spencer, which I don't think he would, I could see Spencer just going around onto a different line. He has a big enough gap to where he can actually lose some time, try and figure out how to get around him, and then go around him and continue on.
And that's the great thing about Homestead with that multi-groove setup that you talked about. You can run down on the apron, or you can run up right at the wall. Noticing, watching them, that Hardison is already taking a higher line than Packard. Well, this time, Packard took a higher line through 3 and 4, but I noticed it mainly in turn number 1 last time by. We'll see what happens this time. This time, Packard staying up high, so they're both pretty much committed right now to the line that they're going to run for the time being, so don't foresee that being an issue. But the more and more cars you begin to pick off, if you're Spencer Hardison, the more you got to figure out, okay, what line are they running? That's the flip side of the coin with that multi-groove racing, is as the leader, now you got to figure out what line that the guys in front of you are figuring out as well.
Yeah, and this is one good thing that Spencer's dealing with right now, is he's only got 1 lap car in front of him. When he gets into, like, people racing 2, 3, 4 cars deep and everything, that's where it could become treacherous. Because you got guys going side by side, or even 3 wide. It's Brockton almost got on the wall off 2 in front of Spencer. That's where, you really got to figure out, like, okay, should I wait? I know I'm faster than them. Should I just wait until they go single file, pick them off 1 by 1, or be the aggressor, take it 3 wide, try and pass them? It could work out. It might not.
And with almost a 5-second lead, and it may be 5 seconds this time, just about 4.8 back. To follow up on that with a question, if you're Spencer Hardison with that big of a lead, do you want to, try it out just to see what happens if you take a gutsy pass on a lap car, knowing that you have enough of a buffer? Or is that still too much of a risk to risk damaging your car? Because we saw it with Deweese, we've seen it with Cody Terry and a couple of other drivers, what happens when you get just a little bit of damage on these cars.
Yeah, and this track is so aerodynamic, just like all the 1.5 miles on this circuit. And honestly, if I'm Spencer, I'm on cruise control. You got the fastest car. You're still pulling away from second place. I would just be patient. If you're sitting behind the cars for 10, 15 laps, then, my tempers might get up there and he might get a little annoyed. But, he's picking these cars off 1 by 1 because he's catching them 1 by 1. And it's making nice, easy work of him to get through them. But in my personal opinion, I wouldn't try and jinx anything by taking it 3 wide unless you absolutely need to.
There's 2 battles on the track right now, as you talked about the cars being spread out there. Only 2 battles right now, but they're both for position. One of them is for 3rd right now. Rob Sherwood and Ross Tatum going to battle right now. They're coming off of turn number 2. This is for 3rd position right now. By the way, Rob Sherwood qualified 17th out of 19. And by working his way up there, using that pit strategy to pit early, he has found himself in the top 5 right now. But Ross Tatum, who we know is not afraid to ruffle some feathers if he has to, we've seen that happen at Martinsville before. He's up in 4th right now, trying to reel in Sherwood. The other battle is going on for 9th position, and it has actually since settled down between Wingo and Coleman, as Wingo is going to be giving the spot up to Coleman as it picks up again now. So Coleman and Wingo back to battle. So 2 battles going on the racetrack right now, both for position, as Coleman and Wingo the best one on the track right now.
Yeah, as Evan moves in on the 54 car of Jack Ely. Coleman was the last guy to pit and I think he was just saving some stuff, and now he's working his way through. He's a little faster than Spencer, but I don't see it being fast enough to run him down from 19 seconds back. As yeah, Coleman's still 19 seconds after that lap. I mean, I can definitely see Coleman cracking the top 5 right now, but something's got to happen to those top 5 drivers to actually have Coleman catch them.
That's if this race stays green. Remember, a visit from the yellow flag, that can change the entire complexion of this race, as Hardison has begun picking him off. Lap traffic, one car coming down pit road. It may be Matt Dyer in the number 88.
Yes, Matt Dyer, he short pitted last time. This is 30 laps, around 30 laps from when he pitted last time. So he's going to have those tires to run these guys down. But at the same time, you know, he started falling back at the end of that run. So maybe this run he manages the tires a little bit better, try and save some positions. But, you know, like you said, that caution flag could change everything. That'll bring guys like Braxton back into the mix that we know he has a fast car, but he's just stuck 15 seconds behind Spencer right now. And they're pretty even on track. They really can't, like, he can't gain or lose anything right now.
Hey guys, I do want to chime in with this pit stop that Dyer just did. This is right at the window of one more stop for Dyer to make it to the end. Everyone else still needs to pit 2 more times or go extreme safe mode in this pit stop and possibly the next.
Well, Sam, don't forget, before Matt pit, he would have had to pit 2 more times also. We should expect these guys to come down in the next 5 laps or so. So ultimately, we're going to have one more pit stop. Now, this is the caveat for short pitting with the fuel level. All right, even if you go 30 laps on this past for Dyer, for instance, he pit on lap 75. All right, we go until 134. So right there, he needs to stretch it all the way till the tank is empty on this run and the last run just to make it to the finish.
And Jacob Grant is coming out of the pits, yeah.
Grant coming down out of pit road. Another car on pit road. Did not catch who that was as they're coming off pit road. Here's a follow-up question, though. Yes, they're in one-stop territory now, but they still have 2 sets of tires left on pit road after this pit stop. So if we do catch a late caution, then you would see everybody come down and use that last set of tires late in the race and set up a shootout. But these guys got to be careful with that last set and save it only if absolutely necessary, because they want that in the bank. And if we do get into a caution precaution type situation later in the race, when do you want to use that set of tires?
It all depends on when everybody else uses theirs. You know, say we go halfway through the last run and a caution comes out with 15 to go. People might take their tires there. But then, you know, like you said, cautions may breed cautions, you know, and you kind of got to play it like it's kind of a risk, because personally for me, I would want to take my last set of tires inside 10 laps to go, but nowhere earlier, like nowhere later than 2 to go, because, you know, you're going to have all those drivers that took tires prior. They're going to be in front of you if you pit with, say, 5 to go. So you want to give yourself enough time to actually make the passes. You know, this is a multi-group track, so you can go all the way to the outside, all the way to the inside, whatever. But at the same time, you want to leave enough time in the middle to where the tires are different.
Ross Tatum just came off of pit road, and coming in now is going to be Braxton Deweese.
Deweese, who, remember, set the pole. Christian Gardner also coming down pit road. Altus and Sherwood, believe we're going to see them on pit road this time as well. Perhaps the BAPS Racing Enterprises drivers of Tucker Wingo and Jack Ely. So as they set themselves up, remember, we're expecting minimum 1 more pit stop. But the way this race has gone, do you think these guys are contemplating and expecting this race to go to the finish at this point, or are they still keeping that thought in the back of their heads of perhaps having to come down late in the race under caution?
Honestly, I think they're thinking, look, we've gone 82, now 83 laps on, like, green. I don't see, unless there's some mistake where, you know, someone spins off pit road or spins getting into pit road and collects someone, I don't see a caution coming out. Like, they've been very clean, very cordial. throughout this race. Granted, it was early, but I think it's a little too late for a caution to come out. Then again, I could be completely wrong. It's iRacing. You never know.
All depends on how the race goes. Altus coming off of pit road in the number 94. About half the field is coming down pit road now. Artisan in the number 9, still no sign of him yet, but he is 18 seconds ahead of second place Evan Coleman as the rest of the field begins their cycle of pit stops. So if you're Hardison right now, you can almost pull off of pit road and get back onto the track and almost not even lose the lead if you can time this right.
Yeah, Rob Sherwood, you mentioned it. He might be coming down with Altus. He actually went one more lap than Altus, so he's going to have that little extra speed come the final, come the end of the run. We'll see where that shakes out. But yeah, like you were saying, Caleb Smith is still on the track. Evan Coleman's still on the track. Spencer's still on the track. As I say that, I believe... No, it looked like he was coming down pit road, but then I saw he was in turn 2. I think Spencer had a big enough lead before those pit stops that actually happened, that he's going to come out with the race lead, no matter when he pits. As Brockton just signaled, he's coming down pit road this time. We're still waiting on, I believe, Stooksbury, Keenan Massey, and like I said, Caleb Smith, Evan Coleman, and the race leader, Spencer Hardison, to come down pit road.
I believe that's it, and I believe Keenan Massey has signified that he's coming down pit road this time as Packard's going to make the left turn on. Stooksbury looks like he's signaling that as well. Remember, Stooksbury and Coleman stayed out till the very end last run. Hardison looks like he may be coming down this time. Massey and Stooksbury both coming down. Massey had a hard time getting it wound up there, so we'll have to keep an eye on the 4 car to see if maybe he perhaps got a speeding penalty, as here comes Hardison indeed.
Wow, he got in there hot.
That's going to be big.
Yeah, Spencer literally went from the top of the track in turn 3, cut all the way down, and hit the line at 50 miles an hour. So, we'll see. Nobody's gotten a speeding penalty yet as fast as they've been getting in. You never know. You could go 51 miles an hour and you'll get a speeding penalty. But you can go, and same thing, you can go 49 miles an hour and somehow get a speeding penalty. It's iRacing, anything can happen. Spencer is down and away, as I believe Evan Coleman takes the race lead now. He has yet to pit. And Caleb Smith is now 4 seconds behind him in second place.
Coleman not coming this time. He's going to get the credit for leading the lap here this time, as Hardison had already crossed the line on pit road before Coleman got there, so he did not lead the last time. He does lead this one. Caleb Smith is in second. They are the only 2 drivers that are not on pit road. Hardison is going to get out in front of Altus once again, I believe, as he had a huge lead coming in to this round of pit stops. Getting lucky there as he had to wound it up. As I believe Caleb Smith's coming down pit road. We'll keep our eyes on Coleman as well. Coleman going to stay out another lap, but I believe Smith is coming this time.
Yeah, Caleb Smith signaled he is coming to pit road. He is on pit road right now. Goes in nice and easy at 45 miles an hour. He's going to bring his 12 machine to the service of his pit crew, and it looks like Evan Coleman is now signaling that he's coming in this time. So that'll cycle everybody through, and like you said, Spencer made it out in front of Josh. Only by a little bit this time. I think Josh was pushing the car a little much when Spencer was still out there to try and gain as much time.
Oh, but Coleman smoked the tires coming on pit road, trying to get it wound up. That was a big slide out of Coleman.
Thankfully, he's taking 4 tires. I wouldn't worry about flat spotting him or anything. Slides right into his pit box. He's good. Should be 4 tires and fuel, and he should have. Now you see, this is the situation that I thought someone was going to be in. Coleman, he's coming out now. We're going to have, I believe, 35 to go. Coming to 35 to go. If he can extend it to, 30 laps, and it looks like Caleb Smith had a little bit of a hiccup coming out of turn 4, or going into turn 4, just got loose. And saved it. Beautiful drift, but that could have killed his tires right there.
That's a big that could be a big issue for Smith because those are brand new tires. And your Smith, you do have one more set of tires available to you, and you know you're going to pit one more time. But now, do you want to risk all that track position and get rid of these tires that may be flat spotted sometime soon? Do you want to risk short pitting on this run to get yourself in that position and risk not having the freshest tires at the end? Or do you want to kind of see how it goes here at first with these newer tires? With the slide factoring into the decision, I don't know what we're going to see out of Smith here.
Actually, I can. Ooh, Coleman gets a little loose right there off 4 that time. I can see a lot of guys like trying to make up time, like the Matt Dyers, the Rob Sherwoods, or even the Ross Tatums. I could see them cutting this last run in half because everybody has to pit one more time, no matter what. So if they pit with 20 to go, I could definitely see, and say Spencer runs it until he can't anymore. That's a good 7-8 laps, maybe. I could see them gaining some time, and that could possibly, take Spencer's lead away. Another thing I can see is, I don't recommend it myself, taking 2 tires here. If they run it dry, I could see someone like Evan Coleman or even Caleb Smith trying that 2-tire strategy to try and gain some positions and try and gain time on that last run.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy to see, but before we get to see the ending of this race, one last commercial from our sponsors, and then you'll see the rest of the race. We'll be right back here for the Christian Gardner Photograph 200.
I promise to follow through.
I promise to repair or replace your product.
I promise to get your optics back to you as soon as possible.
A promise is the foundation of our business. We call it the VIP warranty, the very important promise. It's unlimited, unconditional, and lifetime. No matter what the problem is, no matter how the problem occurred, no matter how old the product is, if it says Vortex Optics on it, we will repair or replace your product at no cost to you. Maybe it was an accident, maybe it was your fault, or even your dog's. No matter what happens, we've got you covered.
It's simple. There's no product registration, no receipts to hang on to. Just grab a box, fill out a form, ship us your product. No hassle, no questions asked.
We stand behind the quality and performance of our products, and our commitment to you extends far beyond the initial purchase. I promise.
Christian Gardner Photography is a photography company local to Western and Central North Carolina, covering everything from motorsports and sports such as NASCAR, the NFL, and high school, to everyday photography, including portraits, senior pictures, and other stuff like that, as well as videography. CGP is the company behind Appalachian Holler Hunters for film editing and producing. Remember, Appalachian Holler Hunters is the official sponsor of the SNB Cup Series, and Christian Gardner Photography is tonight's sponsor of the Christian Gardner Photography 200, which is setting up for an interesting finish here, Tom, because you've got all kinds of different strategies that look to be being played out in front of us. And we were talking a little bit over the break about who we expected to be the one to go off sequence here, and we each had a different choice of who to watch.
Yeah, I know the guy I'm looking at is Evan Coleman. He's the last guy to pit on that last sequence. I could see him, trying to stretch as far as can, maybe taking 2 tires, trying to get, that top 10. No, he's in the top 10 right now, maybe a better top 10 spot. I know you had a different guy in mind.
Yeah, I had Ross Tatum in mind in the number 1. He's running the body armor colors this week. We're used to seeing him in various Coca-Cola products here, but I got him in mind because from what we've seen from Tatum, and not just in this league, I've gotten to call Tatum in another league as well, and every time he always seems to be one to take a gamble on a long green flag run, which is what we've seen tonight. I saw Tatum once stretch an 87 car as long as he humanly could to get it done, and I think he wound up winning the race, if I recall. If not, he came dang close. So Ross Tatum's not afraid to run it dry like we've talked about a couple of times, but the problem is with this 50% fuel capacity, it might call his hand to have to come in a little bit early, but I won't be surprised to see Tatum try something here on the last pit stop.
Yeah, Tatum must be sweating bullets of how close that 96 car is getting to his back end corner entry. The 96 has almost hit him in the rear a couple times these past couple laps, and that's not what Tatum wants. That, he's running 4th. He definitely doesn't want to be taken out by a lap car. But if something like that happens, we are in that window to where if a caution comes out right now, you can make it to the end.
Ooh, we might get one here as Grant and Wingo are getting racy with each other. Coleman on the outside, 3 wide. They almost get together through turn 1. I don't know how they didn't get together. Coleman with a big boy move on the outside there to get around both Wingo and Grant, who go back to battle. That was the closest we've come to a caution so far here tonight.
Yeah, and Wingo just slid up in front of Grant off turn 2, and Grant, I've raced with Grant before. He doesn't take too kindly to that stuff. I know it's late in the race, but it's like a matter of inches right there, and both those cars would have been wrecked.
And he came within a couple of inches of Coleman as well, who saw what was going on in front of him and said, you know what, I'm just going to go full send on the outside and take both of them. Nice move by Coleman. Remember, who's fighting for his playoff lives, as well as Grant. Wingo has a win. He won the caution plague race at New Hampshire. But for Grant and Wingo, 51 and 52, those are 2 drivers who need to win a race in these next 2 races.
Guys,
As you say that, I was just about to say that. I just switched to him. Matt Dyer, first one on the pit road. He is going to need to go 30 laps on this tank of fuel. He went.
Did that.
I believe he went 29 this past time.
When he crossed the line, that was 30 laps, so he can do it. It's just how much time is he really gaining? And once everyone else pits, overall, he's going to be losing some time with those fresher tires over how much he's just going to be off sequence with everyone else.
Yeah, that short pit really hurt him. I believe it was on the 2nd or 3rd pit stop, and it really kind of set the tone for the rest of the race. You can do it in the first quarter of the race and get away with it, but anything after that, it kind of just turns into like, well, I'm stuck with it. It might play out, it might not. You never know.
Remember, the reason he short pit was he was in that hornet's nest earlier that had like 8 or 9 cars battling it out for position, and we saw Dyer say, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and remove myself from this. And unfortunately, with the race going green since then, he just hasn't been able to get himself off that sequence. So the question is now, he's going to the end, and we know he can do it. He was able to make it the distance he's going to need to. But question is, though, what have the rest of the drivers done? Have they been practicing saving fuel as well? Or did Dyer go into conservation mode on one of these runs just to make sure that he could go to the end on 30 laps?
Yeah, and as you said that, the next driver to bring the car down pit road, Jacob Grant. He is flanked by Christian Gardner, who is now on pit road as Grant is off and away. While all this is going on, Spencer Hardison is in cruise control. He's 8.5 seconds ahead of Altus. And honestly, to catch him, there's going to have to be a caution, or Altus is going to have to figure out something to do to try and change things.
Rob Sherwood into the pits.
Rob Sherwood on pit road right now, and this is actually falls into the hands of what I was about to say. Think back to Hardison's last win which came at Chicago. Rob Sherwood led coming off of turn number 4 to the checkered, and the car began to sputter. Hardison was able to get around both Sherwood and Altus, who was pinned behind Sherwood with nowhere to go, and Hardison was able to get his nose across the line first on a fuel mileage race. Here we are setting up for another one. We have had our first retiree from the race. Christian Gardner in the number 7 has loaded up on the trailer and has called it a day. The title sponsor for tonight is the first driver out of the race.
As you're saying that, Braxton DeWeese, Tucker Wingo, more guys coming onto pit road.
Ross Tatum, Ely as well.
I believe Josh is in the 94 machine. He's coming this time.
Tatum on pit road. Right side's going on, coming around to the lefts. I believe Tyler Stooksbury might be coming this time in the 19. Cody Fournette rolling down pit road. Dewey slides into his stall. Money stop time, but they do have one more set of tires in the event of a late caution.
Yeah, and we just heard over the radio, I believe Spencer is either coming this lap or next lap, and this is exactly what you want to do. You see your competition, the biggest threat to your win, pit. I would give it a lap or two, and then pit, so you have fresher, at least a little bit fresher tires, and you'll still be able to keep that lead.
Caleb Smith in the number 12, another driver who's yet to come down pit road. We've seen him and Evan Coleman be the ones that stretch it the longest. Coleman now going to move into second, when he will no doubt be trying to stay out there longer than Hardison to try to get the lead. Because remember, Coleman is in a must-win situation this week or next week. He needs to win one of these races to really lock himself into the playoffs, because he's on the bubble. He is 10th of 10 right now for a playoff spot in the 51. He needs to get himself a win to lock it up and not be in that pressure in Indianapolis next week.
Yeah, but you know what? He's doing what he needs to do. Before these pit stops happened, he was running in the 6th position. Granted, he was 21 seconds behind the leader Spencer, but he was still in 6th position. That's good points. If he can finish where he is right now, with Brockton not having, the day he wants, along with Dyer, Massey, he's back in 13th right now, 2 laps down. Honestly, this might lock Coleman in on points, as we have a gaggle of cars right here between the 52, the 15, the 24, who's a lap down, and the 99. So, honestly, if there's going to be a caution, it's going to be right there.
That's all for position as well, minus the 12 of Smith, who's the only car in that gaggle that's on the lead lap. Hardison has come down pit road, so the leader on pit road for the money stop. He's coming down with 30 laps to go. Coleman
20 laps to go.
Up the lead. 20 laps to go, excuse me. My apologies there. So we know he's going to be good to the finish. He's just hoping this thing stays green the rest of the way.
And Joshua just passed Rob Sherwood. So that was the battle for second place right now. As long as they don't get by Spencer. Once everything cycles through, if Spencer keeps the lead, which they're coming off turn 4, Spencer's coming off pit road now on the access road. So I think he's going to be in front of them as they just hit the line now. I think if a caution doesn't come out here, Spencer's got this in the bag.
Spencer just got to hit his marks the rest of the way, and he will be a 3-time winner this season. And going back to that win for him last season at this track, we knew that he was going to be the guy to beat tonight, and he has absolutely lived up to that in the number 9. By far the strongest car here in Miami tonight. He is going to inherit 3rd place. Unbelievable. He came down pit road and got back out, and the lowest he was scored was 3rd position. And he didn't 3 seconds over Altus.
He didn't even lose a lap, which is honestly impressive for the lead he had over Evan Coleman. Like, before Spencer pit, he had a 21-second lead over Evan, and now he's only 18 seconds behind him. We know Evan's got a pit, and it looks like he's pitting this time. So it's gonna be, interesting to see what Evan does on this last pit stop, as Spencer just got around Caleb Smith. He's coming out of pit road.
Oh, Coleman pushed up the track, and that's going to negate him from being able to come down pit road this time, as he had Wingo to his outside. That's going to cost him another lap. So now you have to start wondering if Coleman might do what we talked about earlier. Now having his hand forced to stay out an extra lap, will he try that 2-tire stop just to try to get something here? And we've seen it time and time again. We know when you are not the strongest car on the racetrack, you got to do what you got to do to win. We've seen Tatum do it. We've seen Coleman do it in the past. We've seen Deweese do it and it pay off. So for Coleman, if anyone's going to take the gamble, it's going to be Coleman right now. Could be the last pit stop of the race. Coleman knows he's got to try something.
Yeah, he can lock up those tires, which he didn't. Might have entered a little fast, but we'll see. But yeah, we got 16 laps to go this time by. Maybe Coleman takes those 2 tires, and maybe, just maybe, he ends up with a better finish than what he was running. It looks like right sides are down. He's going to take 4. So cycle it through to Spencer Hardison with a 4.2 second lead over the 94 machine. And if Josh doesn't find some speed or something doesn't happen to Spencer, I think Spencer's got it.
Enters in lap traffic, though, gets around Tyler Stooksbury, now going after Massey in the 4. Hardison going to be able to get clear of both of them as Coleman comes off of pit road. Stooksbury, though, with a little bit fresher tires than Hardison, it would appear, so he's going to actually be able to get back around Hardison and get his lap back, as Hardison now punches it on the outside to keep him pinned back there. 12 cars on the lead lap at this time as we're coming down to, looks like 15 to go, 14 to go in this one. Hardison continues to lead the way. Altus and Sherwood, your top 3. Very similar top 3 to what we saw at Chicago a couple weeks ago.
Now, this is interesting because I'm watching the intervals, and Atlas has cut it down to under 4 seconds, but at the same time, Spencer's been dealing with lap traffic. We'll see. They both have clean track in front of them right now, so we'll see the intervals this time by. Yeah, and Spencer just picked it back up to over 4 seconds. So, like I said, no caution or anything. It looks pretty self-explanatory right now.
Hardison was half a second faster than Altus that time by. Altus, remember, the 94 is sporting that new look. For the remainder of the season, he's going to have Vortex Optics on board, the number 94, for the remainder of the season. His teammate Rob Sherwood picked up the win at Michigan last week, sitting in 3rd right now. And these guys right now, I think they might be understanding that barring something happening in the final 12 laps or so, Hardison's got this one locked up. So for Altus and Sherwood right now, they're trying to build momentum for the playoffs. And for Altus especially, he's keeping tabs on where's the 15 of Deweese and the 12 of Smith, because those are the guys he's battling out for the regular season championship with. For reference right now, Altus 2nd, Deweese 5th, Smith 11th, the last car on the lead lap.
Well, I'll tell you right now, you mentioned the 15 car, and he is under fire from Tucker Wingo. He has been all over his back bumper these past 2 laps, trying to get around him. That's it for a top 5 spot, and that will help Spencer in the long run if Braxton loses that extra spot. That's an extra point towards that regular season championship that Braxton would lose. This is the closest battle we have on track right now, as they are literally side by side, and down the straightaways, they're nose to tail. So this, like I said, for a top 5 spot, Braxton, fast car in practice, fast car in qualifying. That little bobble on the exit of 4 is really biting him right now, because he's been trying to dig himself out of the whole race. And unfortunately, it's just, with no cautions, it's almost impossible to dig yourself out of that hole.
But what a recovery for him as well, as we've reached 10 laps to go. For Braxton Deweese, remember, he was outside the top 10 on that first green flag run after hitting the wall, after setting the fast time award, getting the pole, but again, caught the wall off of turn number 4 on the opening lap, and it really just has been an uphill battle from now, as he's going to try to get him back on the inside. Nice move by Deweese there to take a move to the inside. Unfortunately, Wingo's got the momentum there on the outside, but Wingo getting up kind of close to the wall, so Deweese going to try it again here, building momentum to playoffs. Again, both these drivers are locked into the playoffs as well. The highest scored driver that does not have a win right now is Wingo's teammate Jack Ely, who's in 7th right now. Then Coleman in 9th. And we talked about Coleman earlier. how he needed a good run to get himself out of that 10th position, that cutoff line. He's doing a nice job right now in 9th and to get himself a nice cushion going into next week in Indianapolis. Not the cushion he's going to want, but it's definitely going to be better than where he was sitting right now.
And speaking of those two, Coleman just passed Jacob Grant for that 8th position, and his next car that he sees is Jack Ely. That's going to be for a position for that 7th spot. Coleman's already on the back bumper of him, so he's going to get around him before this race is over. I don't think Coleman has enough time to run down 4 seconds to Braxton or Tucker to try and get any more positions. But if it finishes here, that's a good run. That's a good solid run for him. And looking to next week, a guy that we definitely have to look out for is going to try and do everything possible to try and get in the chase is that 88 machine of Matt Dyer.
Dyer definitely going to be looking for it. Remember, had to get off sequence early in this race and hasn't been able to recover, but he is sitting in 11th right now, trying to reel in Caleb Smith for 10th. All of those drivers right now are battling for a playoff spot as well. Coleman, Ely, Grant, and Dyer, those 4 who are from 6th or 7th, 8th, 9th, and 11th, they're not locked in. And there's only 2 spots remaining. 2 of those 4 drivers that are in this battle right now, they are not going to make it into the playoffs. So they are trying everything they can to get as many points as they can going to Indianapolis. Right now, it's advantage Coleman because he's the highest scored of them. But Indianapolis is an entirely different racetrack. And you mentioned that Dyer is very strong there as we got 5 laps to go here this time by for Hardison. So this is setting up to be a very, very dramatic finish to the regular season next week in Indy.
Yeah, definitely. And I stand corrected. It looks like Evan is going to probably be able to get to Braxton. Not sure if he's going to have enough time to get around him as it's about 8/10 now between them. I don't think he's going to have enough time to get to Tucker, though, as he's about 2.5 seconds in front of him. But I personally think with this solid run that Jack Ely is having, probably going to finish in the 8th position if everything goes to plan. I think he locks himself into the chase on points next after this race. I think he can just start, if he wanted to, he could start and park at Indy, and he'd end up being good to go, because if we have a field like this next week at Indy of 19 cars, he's in.
One of the smallest fields of the season, but it has not been a boring race. So it's been fun watching all these strategies, different strategies play out. But we got to talk about the car that has been far and away the dominant car here today. Dominated Homestead in the season finale last season. Here he is again, running very strong. Of course, we're talking about Spencer Hardison in the number 9, coming to 2 laps to go. This time, 8.5 seconds over Joshua Altus right now. And this racetrack has definitely proven to me that this is Spencer Hardison's track. He knows his way around this racetrack. He's got 2 laps to go, 8 seconds to the good. He can just afford to just ride it out and just not make any mistakes on this next lap and a half. He's got Matt Dyer in front of him in the 88, and Hardison will be taking the white flag this time by.
Yeah, and Hardison has just been a dominant car all day long. Definitely led the most laps. And he basically led from, I want to say, lap 10, 15 on. Absolutely unbelievable speed that 9 machine brought to Homestead. As, like you said, white flag is in the air this time. Spencer coming off turn 2. I think he's just going to chill behind Matt Dyer and not put him a lap down. Matt's going to finish in 11th. Didn't get the job done this race. But we'll see what happens next race, as I believe Evan Coleman might have a shot at getting Tucker Wingo on this last lap.
Hardison takes the checkered flag. Coleman got around Deweese and is trying to reel in Wingo. Hardison crosses the line. He is your winner, but here comes Coleman with one final send to the inside of Wingo, but it's not going to be enough. He's going to have to settle for 6th. But Coleman, the highest finishing driver who's not locked into the playoffs, that is going to go a long way next week in Indy. Great job by Coleman. Nice move by everybody there. Great race at Homestead tonight. 10 cars finished on the lead lap. Caution free, no less. That was a great performance by these drivers tonight.
Yeah, definite amazing performance by all these drivers, as Spencer is going to come and burn it down in front of the fans at the start finish line. He's definitely led the most laps tonight. Definitely had the fastest car. Honestly, the only thing that he can't say is he didn't get the pole.
Came dang close to coming home here in the win. Started from the third position. And as we burn it down, let's take a look at the unofficial race results. We'll go 10 and then 9. So Spencer Hardison grabs the victory tonight for Team CEM, his series leading third win of the season. Joshua Altus in second, able to gain ground on Deweese and may actually overtake him in that regular season championship heading into Indianapolis. Rob Sherwood comes home in third. Ross Tatum and Tucker Wingo, your top 5. You mentioned Coleman as his CEM teammates all burn it down here on the front stretch. He finishes 6th. Braxton Deweese 7th. Jack Ely in 8th. Smith and Grant, your top 10.
And then Matt Dyer, the first car, 1 lap down, finishes in 11th. Tyler Stooksbury, not the run he was looking for this race, as he started 9th. He finishes 12th. Keenan Massey trying to gain points. He's coming into this race, he was minus 26 of the cutoff line, finishes in 13th. Had a really good qualifying effort, but didn't have the result to show it. Cody Fournette finishes in 14th. Robbie Helms finishes in 15th. Brockton Packard finishes 16th. And then Cody Terry finishes 2 laps down in 17th. Zach Peterson finishes in 18th, 26 laps down. And then Christian Gardner, the sponsor for this race, not the result he was looking for, is the only retiree, finishing 19th, 28 laps down.
So that is your rundown, the unofficial results here from Homestead, Miami. When we come back, we will talk to our top 3 here as we get set to move on. Just one race left in the regular season. We'll catch up with Spencer Hardison, Joshua Altus, and Rob Sherwood right after the break here on the Flatout Racing Network.
I promise to follow through.
I promise to repair or replace your product.
I promise to get your optics back to you as soon as possible.
A promise is the foundation of our business. We call it the VIP warranty, the very important promise. It's unlimited, unconditional, and lifetime. No matter what the problem is, no matter how the problem occurred, no matter how old the product is, if it says Vortex Optics on it, we will repair or replace your product at no cost to you. Maybe it was an accident, maybe it was your fault, or even your dog's. No matter what happens, we've got you covered.
It's simple. There's no product registration, no receipts to hang on to. Just grab a box, fill out a form, ship us your product. No hassle, no questions asked.
We stand behind the quality and performance of our products, and our commitment to you extends far beyond the initial purchase. I promise.
Welcome back to Homestead, Miami, everybody. Here for the SNB Cup Series, the Christian Gardner Photography 200, caution-free here tonight. Spencer Hardison with a dominating performance. We'll catch up with him here in a moment. But coming home in third was Rob Sherwood. And Rob, last week, winner at Michigan, a heartbreaker at Chicago a couple of weeks ago. But here you are, another solid third place here. Another nice run, building momentum heading into Indianapolis next week.
Yeah, another great run. This week we had Realtree on board with us, and it was another great run for us. That's, I believe, 4 weeks in a row we've got a top 5, so really pleased with how we've been running. I can count on two things when we go to Homestead in this series, though. One, we will have no cautions, and two, Spencer Hardison will wipe the floor with everybody else. So, maybe next year when we come back, we'll have a little bit more exciting racing than what we did tonight. But overall, really pleased with points night, both team-wise for MP Motorsports with me and my teammate Josh Altus, and for ourselves, obviously.
Yeah, and a great run for both you guys. Were you guys trying anything different? Like maybe, pitting a little sooner, pitting a little later, trying to get that different tire advantage?
We definitely did try to pit a little bit sooner. When we were thinking about it before the race, I looked and I was thinking like lap 24 would get us still within the fuel window, might get us on fresher tires though. But we were really thinking that it would be similar to how Michigan went last week. And really whoever made it to pit road first within the window, had the advantage in the long run. And I honestly think that's how it played out tonight. And I even had tried to pit one lap earlier than my teammate on the final round of pit stops. And I think when I pitted, I was about 3.5 seconds behind him and ended up coming out just over a second in front of him. And obviously the tires evened out and he caught me. But definitely tried to short pit just a little bit to try and gain a little bit of an advantage.
Well, Rob, we head to Indianapolis last week, 2.5 miles. We were at another big track, 2-mile track last week, Michigan. You got the win there. What did you learn, perhaps, if anything, from that big track race at Michigan that you can use to carry over to Indianapolis next week for the regular season finale?
To be honest, just the main thing's confidence, just having belief in myself, getting to race around quality drivers with Braxton and Spencer, Josh, all those guys that consistently run in the top 5. And so I think more so than anything, it's just believing that I have the ability to race with those guys and that I do belong up there. So, it feels good to be able to run with them and just get that experience. So that's honestly all I can say, and really looking forward to Indy next week. It's a track. I've only gotten to run there a few times, so definitely doing a lot of testing this week, but it should be a fun one.
Well, Rob, just one thing left for you to do, and you've gotten pretty good at it over the last couple of weeks. A chance to thank your sponsors and who got you here.
As I was saying earlier, shout out to Realtree. They were my primary sponsor for the first week this week, and we'll have them on board for the rest of the season. So thankful for them. Thankful for you guys at Flatout that you could do this on such short notice. I know LSR TV had some problems with broadcasting because of the internet. So we appreciate you guys stepping in. And then obviously we want to thank Appalachian Holler Hunters and Christian Gardner, who actually sponsored tonight's race, the Christian Gardner Photography 200. He runs his own photography business. So if you're in the North Carolina area, please check him out. He does quality work. But yeah, again, thank you guys so much for doing this tonight. Fantastic broadcast.
Rob Sherwood, third place. Congratulations. And moving over to his teammate who gained some ground and we believe may have taken over the regular season points lead heading into Indianapolis, Joshua Altus. And Josh battling it out there in the early stages of the run with Hardison. But man, it seemed like no matter what you tried to do on pit road, Hardison was able to best you there. But man, it was beginning to turn into a race of, okay, if something goes his way, he's right back into it. What was your thoughts as the race developed?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much just like you said. First, thankful for another strong run, another podium finish. I'm just thankful that we've been able to build a lot of momentum over the last couple of weeks. I feel like I say this every week. We bring speed every single week into the track. It's just frustrating not to get the win. That's why we're all out here is to win races. And not gonna lie, it's definitely starting to wear on me a little bit. Not getting to victory lane, but I don't know, man. Spencer was just in an absolute another zip code tonight. I really took some time this week to review our last race of the season at the finale and try to get an idea of some of the things Spencer did during that race. And I felt really confident coming into tonight. Qualified on the outside pole, was really fast in practice, and I felt like we were going to be able to contend tonight. And first run, got scared to death where Braxton got loose on the high side, and luckily was able to save it, and I thought that was going to be a big one really early in the race. But yeah, Spencer got by me, I don't know, 5 laps in, and I hung with him most of the first run, and I thought it was going to be a man versus man coming down at the end. And, quickly right towards the end of that last run, he just started pulling away, and we tried to short pit a couple times, like Rob said, and it was almost reverse. Normally, if you short pit, you gain so much time on them, but it seemed like it would really hurt you in the middle of the run, toward the back of the run, if you pitted early. So I don't know what Spencer's got figured out here, but he's got something figured out, and he definitely showed it again tonight.
Yeah, and Josh, you mentioned you and Rob trying to short pit. Now, we're going to throw this caveat in there and ask you this. If a caution came out with everyone basically going to be on the same set of tires, do you think you had anything for him?
That's a good question. I would have liked to see what would have happened, that's for sure. I think Spencer was definitely the fastest car. I don't think there's any doubts about that, but when you get, a bunch of hungry guys lined up on a restart with, I think pretty much everyone had a set of tires left. So if a caution came out, I could be almost guaranteed that everyone was going to come get tires. And then it's just, who can fight the best on the restart. And those cars are set up so loose on the new tires that it's easy to make a mistake. So yeah, I definitely would have liked my chances. But at the same time, even though we couldn't win the race, it's good to come out here. I believe I'm going to be the regular season points leader after tonight. So that was definitely one of our goals when we started the season. We wanted to win a race, and we wanted to win the regular season points heading to the playoffs. So I think we're going to be in pretty good position to do that. Hopefully we can have a good run next week and grab those bonus points before the playoffs start, and then go to work.
And Josh, let's talk a little bit about that next race at Indianapolis. We saw you get the win at Daytona. You've run very well since then, but just haven't gotten through the victory lane. Regular season finale and the regular season championship on the line heading into Indianapolis. Say that 3 times fast. What are you expecting to see from this race next week, and what are you planning to do to prepare for it?
That's a great question, Greg. I've had Indy circled on my calendar since we started this season. I know when we had, the official races on iRacing back around, when the Cup guys actually ran there at Indy. It was something about that track I just really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the big 2.5 mile tracks. So yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. Indy's such a unique track. The draft comes into play, and then you've got, very unique different corners on each end. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of guys in here who could show up and run well. I think it's going to be key to get track position early, try to take care of your tires. And then we'll just see what happens. I know there's probably going to be a lot of guys racing aggressively to try to get into the playoffs. But my goal, same as every week, I'm going to prepare. I'm going to go over a couple notes and see what I can learn and show up and try to win.
Well, Josh, you had a new look on the number 94. We talked about Vortex Optics coming on board, but here's a chance for you to really give them a shout out. Thank you, sponsors.
Yeah, absolutely. Christian Gardner first, the Christian Gardner Photography 200 tonight. As Rob said, Christian is very talented in many different ways. He's a great hunter. He started this Appalachian Holler Hunters, but a whole nother side to him is his photography business. And he actually shot my engagement photos last year. So it was really cool. Rob and I just went to Gatlinburg and rented a cabin, took our wives, and it was the 1-year anniversary of when I proposed to my wife. So I always think of that because Christian did a great job shooting my engagement photos. So definitely check Christian out. But yeah, very excited to have Vortex Optics on board. They're going to be our primary partner for the remainder of the season. So definitely check those guys out. Got to thank also Hornady Ammo that's been on board most of this season. Appalachian Holler Hunters again. And definitely, as Rob said, I wanted to echo his remarks to all you guys at Flatout. Thank you guys so much for picking up the slack today. I know it was very last minute call, and thank you to Charles for helping facilitate that. We definitely hated that we couldn't be on LSR TV tonight, but we definitely want to thank you guys at Flatout for stepping up to the plate and broadcasting our race.
Second place, Joshua Altus. Another great finish. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And speaking of another great run, back-to-back dominating performances at Homestead, Miami for the winner, who now is the winningest driver in the SNB Cup Series this season. 3 points-paying victories to the number 9 of Spencer Hardison. And Spencer, man, that was a clinic tonight. There's no other way to put it. That was a clinic from you tonight. How in the world did you do that?
I think it's about 25 races now. I've ridden behind a guy like Tom Bourne, so I just learned a lot of things from him. Really honest. No, it was a great race. I don't know what it is about Homestead. It kind of fits me like a glove for whatever reason. Like I told the guys earlier, if I knew what made Homestead a good track for me, I would certainly duplicate it everywhere. But I don't know. It was just another great race. A lot of fun. Super glad that it went green again. That's 2 straight races we've had at Homestead that have gone green the entire time. So that's great. But yeah, it's just nice to get another win heading into the playoffs because Indianapolis isn't going to be great for me. As much as I'm as good as I am at Homestead, I'm not good at Indianapolis. So yeah, it's just another great win to get a little bit more momentum and, like you said, take the lead and wins. But I don't know how much that'll mean coming into playoffs, but we'll see.
Spencer, 2 things. First things first, no need to call me out like that. Secondly,
yeah, that was a compliment. That was a compliment.
I know. Just saying, we'll see in future races. Anyway, back to today. I spoke to you before the race for a brief second, caught you before you went out for qualifying. You were my favorite going in, and looking at last year's statistics from this race, I had every right to think you were my favorite. What'd you figure out going into that throughout the race to make yourself so much faster than guys like Josh and Rob and Braxton and all them?
I really just think it came down to tires. After that first pit stop, I think I came out about 1.7 seconds behind Altus. He had pitted it I think 3 laps earlier than me. And whenever I was able, it took a little bit longer. I was trying to save tires and stuff. But once I was able to get by him fairly easily on that run and then put a little bit of time in between us, I honestly think it just came down to tires. I think I had the speed if it would have been more of a caution fest and stuff like that to stay out front, at least up front relatively. But honestly, I think it comes down to tires. For whatever reason, I can save tires really well here. So throughout the run, just seeing that my tires were getting stronger and stronger every run, I was able to just push it just that much more and just keep pushing it until we got right there at the end. I think at the end was the first time. There was probably 2 or 3 laps to go. I got tight all night. Every other lap for the rest of the race, it was sticking. It was perfect. So I honestly think it just came down to tires. Like I said, I wish I knew what I did that's so much different here, but it definitely came in handy.
Spencer, it was a great performance for you here tonight, but next week we head to Indianapolis. You're locked into the playoffs, so you can afford to really take a few gambles here. But do you like Indianapolis next week, and do you like your chances heading into the Brickyard?
Not at all. Not even a little bit. I haven't ran well at Indianapolis. I think I've only ever run 2 races there ever, and I don't think I finished either one. So I'm not looking forward to Indianapolis. Honestly, like you said, we're locked in the playoffs. Got 3 wins already under the belt. The main focus is honestly to try to get Matt Dyer or Evan Coleman a win so that they're locked in, to get as many CM drivers in as we can to go with me and Caleb. And so that's really the main focus. I'm going to still go out and, try the best I can. But until I figure out something with Indianapolis where we can get along, it's not going to be one that I look forward to ever.
Well, Spencer, maybe you can, throughout the week, maybe you can run behind me at Indy a little bit and learn something or a thing or 2.
I like it. I like where your head's at, Tom.
But anyway, dude, great run. Before we let you go, who you want to thank?
Definitely got to thank Lane's Contracting. Like I say all the time, the biggest thing they do for me is pay me pretty regularly. And then obviously the guys at CEM. Matt does a lot throughout the race, helping us understand where the fuel is at and where guys are pitting, so that we can kind of have a game plan going in. And Evan and Caleb have been great. We all try to practice together as much as we can, so I definitely got to give credit to those guys. And obviously, as everyone else has said before me, appreciate you guys stepping up tonight and broadcasting the race since LSR TV had a little bit of issues. I always love racing on FRN, so really appreciate you guys. And shout out to Rob and Josh for putting on the league and all that kind of stuff. It seems like we get better and better racing every week, so really enjoying it. So can't wait to keep going and get into the playoffs.
Winner here at Homestead, Miami. I completely got my train of thought derailed there. That was already in Indianapolis for next week, but winner at Homestead with a dominating performance, Spencer Hardison. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Well, that wraps things up here on FRN. And Tom, it came together kind of last minute, but man, I gotta say, I feel like we executed that, and it was a lot of fun getting to watch this race unfold.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun. I wasn't sure how it was going to be going into this race, but I think we pulled it off pretty well. I always love coming up into the FRN booth and working with any of the guys from FRN or any of you guys, and it's always a fun time. It was a great race to watch, great race to broadcast.
And it was a great time for me for my first time here on the FRN channel in the FRN booth. Hopefully I get to come back more often. Hopefully I did a good job for you guys. But next week, the SNB Cup Series will be back on its regular channel, LSR TV. But for us here in the FRN booth, a big thank you to us on behalf of the SNB Cup Series for FRN stepping up here with the technical issues on LSR TV. A big thank you to FRN for stepping up. A big thank you to you, the fans, for watching tonight. Spencer Hardison picks up his first win of the season. For Tom Bourne here alongside with me in the booth, and Samuel Dyer turning the cameras here in the production truck, I'm Greg Rentz. A big thank you tonight for everyone tuning in. We'll see you next week in Indianapolis.